This here is Kitty Hawk Drive, and it got its name from a plane crash, a P-40 Kitty Hawk American fighter plane that crashed somewhere near here. I think it crashed about 50 metres from the future Kedron Wavell RSL club. Anyway, further research seems to indicate that it wasn't a Kitty Hawk plane and was in fact a Thunderbolt. I don't think there are any plans at the moment to rename Kitty Hawk Drive to Thunderbolt Drive.
Well folks, here we are today over the north side. We're on Kitty Hawk Drive. And as you've probably just seen in that video from Rob, Kitty Hawk Drive was named after an air crash which was almost certainly not a Kitty Hawk. Might have been a Warhawk, might have been a Thunderbolt, but certainly wasn't a Kitty Hawk. And what we're going to do now is we're going to have a bit of a deeper delve into this accident, because you know, a man died here and there's very little known about it. So let's list what we do know and we'll conject about what we don't know. And if you have time, go over and check out Rob's video on the history of Chermside, because believe me, it's really good. Anyway, let's get to it. So folks, this is a Curtiss Kitty Hawk, an Australian one from World War II, the Currawong. And it is a Kitty Hawk, but the American aircraft weren't Kitty Hawks, they were Warhawks. Only the Australians called theirs Kitty Hawks. So the chance of this being a Kitty Hawk that crashed is zero. Alright, these were tough little aeroplanes. You see, that's a lot of combat damage, and that aeroplane is back at base, so it made it back. They were used by the Australians all over the Pacific, all over Papua New Guinea and northern Queensland. But in 1943, there were no Kitty Hawks based in Brisbane or anywhere near Brisbane. Or Curtiss Warhawks for that matter. They'd mainly been replaced by then with the new aeroplane, which we'll talk about in a second. So the Australians flew these everywhere. They had 6 50 cal machine guns. We'll talk more about that ammo at the end, with about 1,680 rounds, which is reasonable. 6 of these things boring down out of the sky. It's going to give you a really nasty day. So it certainly wasn't a Kitty Hawk. So Rob, you're absolutely correct. This is P-47 Thunderbolt, also known as the Jug. This thing was a beast. It was a tank with a propeller on the front. This is one of the best photos of it I've seen, unleashing at night. Now, one thing to know, only 1 round in 5 is tracer. The rest don't have a tracer. You're only seeing 1 round in 5. That is an absolute devastating. They had 8 50 caliber machine guns. And I'm not going to explain that abbreviation to you. That its superpower was 3,700 rounds in some models on board. These things were just a flying ammunition depot, so they did a lot of damage, and correctly so. The Americans flew them off carriers, but there were none of those based in Queensland at the time either. So it certainly wasn't an operational aircraft. This was the trick they used to do. If the Japanese dropped bombs that didn't go off, they'd load them back on the aircraft and drop them back on them next time they went back, fix the fusing and drop them, which is nice. Now the other aircraft it might have been is a P-43 Lancer, also made by Republic. Looks a lot like a Thunderbolt. Smaller engine, smaller aeroplane, not a particularly good aeroplane. However, there's a problem with that too. They'd pretty much gone out of use by 1943 in the Pacific Theatre. Here's the Lancer in the bottom with a Kitty Hawk behind it, or Warhawk. Above that there's an Aerocobra, and behind that there's a Lightning. So there you go, that's the big ones. And yeah, a lot of them ended up like this. So yeah, they were pretty much gone by then. Now, let's talk a little bit about the armament, because we're here. These things are essentially gunships. So you saw this photo before. By the way, the P in all these things, you know, F is for fighter, B is for bomber, P is for pursuit. So there you go, I didn't know that either. This is a 50 cal round. This will really end your day badly if one of these gets hold of you. And they fired a lot of these. Like the Thunderbolt had 3,000 of these on board, and this is the variety of ammunition they could carry. Armour piercing, tracer, incendiary, you name it, they had it. Now, there was also talk that this may have been a captured Japanese Zero that was being test flown. Highly unlikely. He's a pretty brave boy driving a Zero around over Brisbane in World War II. But anyway, this is Eagle Farm, 1944, a year after this incident, but it was an enormous base. And it was they used to build and put together a lot of aircraft there. The 81st Air Depot was down there, and they were assembling Thunderbolts. Here they are here, being driven around Brisbane streets, being ferried around. They would assemble the P-47s ready for deployment to operational areas. Here's these rows of them there, ready to go, ready to be deployed, because, they used a few of these. So, yes, there were P-74s here, P-47s here, although they weren't operational. And I'm pretty sure that's where this has come from. So, Camp Chermside, 1943. Not much to look at. There was a lot of guys there. If you want to know all the stats, watch Rob's video on it on Chermside. It's got a lot more information than I'm going to give you here. The main thing we're going to draw from here is it didn't have a runway, never did. So this aircraft was in trouble. And let's have a look at the area. This is back in 1946, Hamilton Road there, Gympie Road, Newman Road, just for some context. And you can see Camp Chermside right smack bang in the middle there. And the aircraft crashed about here, hit the officers' toilet block. So somewhere around there. What I'll do is I'll pull up a modern, the modern topology on there for you, modern satellite map, that you can see. You can see Chermside on the corner there, and it's basically in the car park of the Kedron Wavell RSL. And I will, in a couple of secs, I'll just bring up a modern map and hold its position so you can see where it is. You can go there, no big deal, it's just a car park. So there you go. Anyway, what we're going to do now, we'll have a little look at the pilot, because, brave man gave his life. Let's check that out now. Well, here we are, folks. We're at the entrance to the Downfall Creek Bikeway, which is just behind me here. And this is approximately the spot where Sol's plane crashed and he passed away. In 1943, in November 1943, I might. Well, folks, this is Rabbi Levi Jaffe in 2009 saying a few words over the memorial stone for Sol. And this is where it was, just here in front of the Kedron Wavell RSL. But if you go there now, it's gone. Well, it's gone because they moved it. I have no idea why, but they've moved it to here, which is down in the precinct, the heritage precinct of Chermside, which is just over in Kitty Hawk Drive. It's a short walk away. And here's his plaque, which commemorates the sacrifice this young man made. Not too far, although it was close to where it was before. And there you go. So I'll put it on the map for you. There it is there, easy to get to, straight out Chermside's back door and you're in there. Just one thing I will draw your attention to. In this photo of Reverend Levi, you will see a small pebble. Looks like a quartz pebble next to the memorial. That's not an accident. That's the way Jewish people commemorate their dead, because it's permanent, not like flowers. This is Ipswich, 1946. This is something most people don't know about. This is the American Servicemen's Cemetery in Ipswich. It was temporary. 1,400 American servicemen who died, their bodies were moved here. Then after the war, they were repatriated. And here's the memorial to it now. It's called Mason Park, named after an old lady that kept in touch, wrote to the relatives of the people that were in there. Amazing story, it really is. So yeah, that's up in Ipswich. Not much to see now, unfortunately. Well, this is not Second Lieutenant Sol. Unfortunately, Shoal, there is no photos of him that I'm aware of. But that is a P-47 he's standing in front of, which I will almost bet it highly likely was the aircraft that crashed there that day, was a Thunderbolt. But no, they're not going to rename the road to Thunderbolt Drive. Even the councillor that originally named it admitted he was wrong because he read a local history book to get the name, and it was wrong, and on it went. Anyway. I think the thing to come out of this is a little Jewish boy from Texas volunteered to defend his country and ended up down here defending our country and gave his life, coming to a country he probably even knew it existed, and was largely forgotten. So, but not anymore. Sol, we've got you. So anyway, tell your friends about this video if you think they're interested in this sort of stuff. Smash the old like and subscribe button if you can, that'd be helpful. And you know what I'm going to say. Keep rocking. T-Rox out.